Soul-piercing pirate, Wang Chen became an intern on the white-bearded ship. The New World powerhouse is like a cloud, but he is not afraid. He has a jar system. Take out the domineering aura from the white beard. Blooming thunder fruit from the green pheasant. Take the famous sword from Marco, the second-generation ghost Che. Qingji. It's not a matter of whether he's strong or not, he's the kind of very special intern. Marco. Intern. He is certainly our white-bearded intern, but he can just hang and beat a general. Redhead. Intern. Can you beat up an intern who can make me run away? I, Shanks, don't want face. Blackbeard. You. Don't come over. As an intern, become the king of the new world, starting with slapping red hair and chasing Blackbeard. Main characters. Wang Chen, Boya Hancock. Keywords of the novel. Pirates. My intern's ability to crack red hair is reasonable, right? No pop-ups, pirates. My intern's ability to crack red hair is reasonable. Download the full text. Pirates. My intern's ability to crack red hair is reasonable. Read the latest chapter. Chapter 1. Man in Mobidick, a trainee. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Today is a good day, everything I want to do can come true. In the waters of the New World, with clear skies spanning thousands of miles, Wang Chen hummed a tune and couldn't be too happy. I have been in the world of One Piece for 2.5 months, and I have also been a trainee on the white-bearded Mobidick for 2.5 months. For 2.5 months, Wang Chen sang, danced, rapped, and played basketball. Not all proficient, but settled down in the world of pirates and was accepted by the Whitebeard pirates. Yes, Wang Chen is a traveler. What was his name and experience in his past life? It's not important. What's important is that his current name is Wang Chen, and he's an intern in the Whitebeard pirate squad, and he has a system. Ding. It has been detected that cans have fallen around. May I ask if you want to pick them up? The sound of the system rings. Wang Chen doesn't mind seeing strange things. His system is called the earthen jar system. Those who have played with DNF are not unfamiliar with earthen jars. And reality is not DNF after all. So this system is reflected in Wang Chen, which occasionally brushes cans out of the people around him. There are 4 styles of jars. Ordinary white, excellent blue, rare purple, and legendary gold. Here, it has to be said that the Whitebeard pirate squad is a true bull. In the past 2.5 months, Wang Chen has been fooling around on the Mobidick and has found almost no cans below the excellent grade. Wool grows from sheep. It seems that the quality of sheep directly affects the quality of the jar. The Whitebeard pirates are generally big pirates, and even ordinary fighters can receive bounties of tens of millions or more. Therefore, even though most of the people that Wang Chen currently has contact with are ordinary fighters, he has gained a lot in the past 2.5 months. For example, when opening the character properties panel, you can see Name. Wang Chen, Occupation. Sword Emperor, Power. 100, Physical Strength. 75, Speed. 91, Current Level. 25, Skills. Basic Mastery LV25, Return to Origin LV1, Highest, 5 Chi Chaoyuan LV1, Lightsaber Mastery, Default, yes, along with him, there is also the profession of Sword Emperor. As is well known, the profession of Sword Emperor is a cheating profession in DNF. The attack is high, the output is high, and the speed is incredibly fast. It's really not a problem to say that it hits people like a cheat. Wang Chen, who obtained the Sword Emperor's professional panel, needless to say, was also a cheater. Wang Chen, who only gained some character experience and 3 skill points from the jar, now has a physical fitness that is comparable to the average crew member of the Whitebeard pirates. Before that, he was just a recent college graduate who had just crossed over and had no strength to hold on to a chicken. Of course, Chen is a low-key person, and even if he gets the system, he doesn't show off. For 2.5 months, he honestly played the role of a regular intern on the white-bearded ship. Not pretending to be forced, not causing trouble, and mixing in the crowd is just picking up cans. Not to mention, it's really enjoyable. Without eating the fruit of demons or practicing hard, he possesses the level of strength of an ordinary pirate, which can be considered as not embarrassing the intruder. Just recently, he has been a bit unhappy. As the number of times the wool on the fighter's body was collected increased, the quality of the jars he could pick up began to deteriorate. Previously, we started with blue high-quality cans, but now we have white cans. This made Chen feel that he had to make some changes. "Hey, Xiao Wang, what's going on? Yesterday's story said Naruto caught up with Sasuke, and you ran away. Whatever you say today, you have to finish the rest of the story." Just in a daze, a fighter came over with a smile, looking like he had a good relationship with Chen. And behind this fighter, there was also a group of people following. Upon hearing these words, he immediately followed suit. That's right, tell the rest of the story. I want to see the third generation of Hokage die. The third generation old man is very naughty. Me too. In the world of One Piece, talking about Naruto and Chen's actions cannot be said to be vulgar. However, this is also an unavoidable matter. Newcomers who want to make a name for themselves always need to be a bit different. Not to mention, he wants to pull wool from the old crew members, so naturally, he needs to establish good relationships. Speaking of which, the Whitebeard pirates, although the internal atmosphere is good, everyone is called Whitebeard Dad, and everyone is Whitebeard Son. How could it be possible for a big pirate group like Whitebeard to have no hierarchy within? Interns like Chen usually just sweep the deck on a daily basis and see which big brother on the ship is in a good mood before teaching him some skills. In this situation, it's really not possible to stand out without some dirty tricks. Pick. There is a range for picking up cans. Based on the principle of no waste, Chen first asked the system to put away all the jars within 1 meter, and then came back to his senses from a trance state, wanting to say something. Just then, above my head, suddenly someone shouted, "Red-headed pirates." It's the flag of the red-headed pirates. In an instant, not only the crew on the ship, but also the cadres on board were startled. The fourth emperor with red hair is a powerful figure on this vast sea, on par with his white beard. Captain Marco, the undead bird, fell from the sky and looked at others, wondering, red hair. What's that guy doing here? On the distant horizon, a large ship slowly approaches. It's the red-headed pirate's ship, the Redford. Want to see Dad? Someone started using code words on Redford. Seeing the secret code, a group of people looked at each other and immediately, someone ran to report Whitebeard. Chen, who was mixed in the crowd, seemed to have realized something and his eyes suddenly lit up. He is familiar with this scene. This is the scene where Red Hair boarded the ship for the first time and met Whitebeard to negotiate. The issue of negotiation is naturally Black Hutiki. Because he had dealt with Blackbeard and his eyes were injured by him, Redhead knew that this person was a tough guy to deal with and was afraid of breaking the current stable pattern of the sea. Therefore, he hoped that Whitebeard could stop Ace from continuing to pursue Tiki and consider a long-term plan. The outcome of the negotiation naturally ended in unhappiness, and the two of them even fought back, cutting the sky apart. Of course, this has nothing to do with Chen. What really caught his eye was that the red hair in front of him seemed like an opportunity. Red hair, if we can pluck a jar from him, then this jar must be at least a rare purple level, right? Besides, I was worried before that there were too few people I could contact. If we could use the hand of red hair to make a name for ourselves, not to mention plucking wool from Whitebeard on a daily basis, at least if we could get the attention of people like Marco and Joez, then. Thinking of this, Wang Chen was greedy. Damn it, give it a fight. It's up to you, red-haired. Chapter 2. Face-to-face Redheads. Amazing Wang Chen. You are listening at novel full.audio. The wind direction is normal. Set sail. Above the sea, the Redford was slowly approaching the Mobidick. The name of Red Hair is well known in the sea. Even though Shanks is a rising star compared to Whitebeard, the Whitebeard pirates have also given corresponding treatment to this fourth emperor. Welcome Captain Redhead. Welcome Captain Redhead. When Shanks boarded the ship, a wave of welcome echoed from the Mobidick. At this moment, Marco began to drive people away. Young people all step down, your bodies can't bear it. If the body cannot bear it, it means someone wants to ask. But it's already too late. Step on it. Step on it. The sound of steady footsteps sounded like a drum. Before he could finish speaking, the person asking the question had already collapsed in place. Hello, hello. Someone exclaimed in surprise, as if frightened. Marco pursed his lips and said, "It's too late. Forget it, just let's see for yourself. There's no need to panic, it's just a passing out. It's not a big deal." Red-haired Shanks, face-saving fruits. Ah bah, the owner of domineering color and domineering aura. This time, coming alone, there should still be some pressure. Just as its domineering aura dissipated, on the Mobidick, a multitude of people began to fall. The average fighter cannot withstand the terrifying aura of red hair, and immediately faints and collapses. Marco shook his head and didn't say much. Next to him, the captain of the third team, Diamond Joez, chuckled and said, "How can you maintain clarity in front of that man with your half-hearted psychological resilience? You young people are still too young." Before he could finish speaking, Joez froze. Because he saw a young man with a handsome face and black hair, looking over at the edge of the ship's side. Not to mention fainting, his face seemed to recall something interesting, and at this moment, he was even laughing. This Joez was stunned on the spot, and soon his expression was strange. Sensing a change in his expression, Marco exclaimed, and looked over. At that time, he was also stunned. He knows the qualifications for red hair. It was precisely because he knew that he understood how difficult it was to remain sober in front of this man. This is a domineering aura, an unparalleled qualification that can only appear among millions of people. I can be clear-headed because I am Marco. The reason why people around them can stay awake is also because they are all experienced and powerful sailors. What does this young man rely on? Is he Wang Chen? Marco tried hard to recall, but finally remembered who the young man in front of him was. Speaking of which, his relationship with Wang Chen is quite extraordinary. Wang Chen, who had just crossed over, was covered in injuries and was waiting to die while drifting on the sea. It was Marco, who had nothing to do, who flew aimlessly on the sea, discovered him, and rescued him. Seeing that he had nowhere to go, he was given the identity of an intern on board. Wang Chen was able to establish himself on the Whitebeard pirates and gather wool everywhere. It can be said that Marco is not only Wang Chen's leading brother, but also his life-saving benefactor. However, Marco does not care. In fact, it is indeed the case. Rescue Wang Chen and place him on the ship, and Marco quickly ignores him. At this moment, if it weren't for Wang Chen's impressive performance, he wouldn't have remembered the presence of such a person on the ship, or rather, the presence of an intern on board the Mobidick. This little guy looks a bit interesting. Marco smiled slightly at the corner of his mouth. Surrounded, fainting and collapsing. There are many formal crew members and combatants among them, and if given the bounty, there will definitely be tens of millions. Adding up, hundreds of millions may not be able to stop it. And it is this group of people, under the aura of red hair, as fragile as chopping melons and vegetables. On the contrary, it was a child in his teens, with astonishing red hair and a calm demeanor, even wanting to laugh. If Marco has no ideas, it is definitely impossible. He seems to have rescued a genius from the Whitebeard pirates. However, it is obvious that it is not the time to dig for good seeds. I saw the figure of Shanks with red hair appearing on the steps, dragging a tall wine jug in his right hand and walking step by step to Whitebeard. It's impolite. As soon as we boarded the enemy ship, we had a sudden attack. Looking at the fallen crowd around him, Shanks apologized but had no hint of apology on his face. Beard snorted, "Seeing your face, the injury left by that guy is causing me a faint pain. I brought healing water, there's no intention of fighting." Shanks gestured to the huge wine jug in his hand and then said, "I have something to discuss with you. Needless to say, the next step is to enter the plot." Speaking of which, the captain of the fourth team, Saki, who was killed by Blackbeard, was still known by Wang Chen. However, due to his unfamiliarity, Wang Chen did not remind him to be careful of Tiki at the time. As in the original work, Tiki successfully obtained the dark fruit and defected to the Whitebeard pirates. The current situation is that Ace is chasing Blackbeard and will soon catch up and start fighting on an island called Bonero Island. The result of the battle goes without saying that Ace was defeated and imprisoned in the advancing city. Next came the famous top-tier war, where Whitebeard died. Of course, Wang Chen cannot be a spoiler. Looking at Shanks from afar, all he was thinking about was how to use this famous fourth emperor to make a stunning achievement. The two continued their conversation. Quickly, the key point arrived, and Shanks mentioned Tiki's fierce nature and difficulties, while persuading Whitebeard to stop Ace from pursuing Tiki. The Whitebeard indeed showed displeasure. The matter of Blackbeard Tiki, in the heart of Whitebeard, is ultimately a family matter. Red hair is red again, it's internal family matters. When will it be his turn to be an outsider, pointing here? The wine jug in Whitebeard's hand was raised, and at that moment, it was about to sound angry. At this moment, a young voice had already taken his lead and sounded behind Shanks, "Captain Redhead, are you going to intervene in our Whitebeard family affairs now?" Wang Chen stood up. As if stuck in seconds, incredibly precise, instantly attracting the attention of countless people. Wang Chen. The group of fighters who were familiar with Wang Chen recognized him in an instant. After being stunned for a moment, they immediately stopped him and said, "Step back. Don't be reckless in front of Dad." Marco was also stunned and said, "Is that this kid again? What does he want to do?" "Marco, who is this kid?" "Do you know him?" said Joez beside him, feeling puzzled. Wang Chen dared to speak at this moment, which can be said to be very bold. Note that the two people standing in front of him at this moment are symbols of the old era and leaders of the new era. These two people, no matter which one, are terrifying figures who stomp their feet and the sea trembles 3 times. Talking nonsense in front of these two people clearly means that they don't want to live anymore. Oh. Shanks turned around and also looked over. He looked at Wang Chen, then at the people around him who were so dizzy that they were all in a daze. A hint of interest flashed in his eyes and he said, "This young man is. My name is Wang Chen, and I am an intern on the Whitebeard pirates ship." Wang Chenlong's voice. As an intern, facing the red-haired 4 emperors of the sea, at this moment, he is completely not inferior. Unknown Wang, at this moment, he is full of sharpness. Chapter 3. Shanks facing a big enemy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Daring to stand up and pretend, Wang Chen naturally has his confidence. In the past 2.5 months, although he could only come into contact with ordinary crew members, he also brushed several rare purple jars and gained a lot of fun from them. For example, skill points, such as a contract with an expert, 1 day. Those who have played DNF know that a contract with an expert is something that allows people to break through level limits and learn higher level skills. Wang Chen is currently at the 25th level of the Sword Emperor, and the skills he can learn are naturally within the range of the Sword Emperor's 25th level. But if he has an expert contract, he can cross levels and learn the Sword Emperor skill at level 35 at level 25. Sword Emperor level 35 has a very domineering skill called Yulong Palm. Level 1 Dragon Palm allows him to unleash 4 times his combat power above his current physical fitness level. That is to say, if he uses the page of the expert contract in his hand, his combat power can soar fourfold within a day. Without singing, it's amazing. Today's pressure, he's someone who pretends to be certain. Intern. Shanks looked at Wang Chen and after a moment, he burst out laughing, ha ha ha. Fun, fun, you remind me of the days when I followed Captain Roger. However. Speaking of which, Shanks's face sank and he said, it's very impolite for adults to talk and children to interject. Your family's adults, haven't they taught you? The negotiation with Whitebeard has undoubtedly broken down. Judging from the expression on Whitebeard's face just now, it was clear that the other party was already trying to smash the wine jug in their hand, and Shanks couldn't help but understand. Because of this, Shanks is not in a very good mood at the moment. His original intention was to maintain peace in the ocean under the current situation. The conflict between Ace and Tiki is undoubtedly an extremely dangerous and high-risk point, and if not handled properly, the entire ocean could fall into a frenzy. In such a situation, even if Shanks had a naturally good temper, he couldn't help but feel a bit angry when being scolded in front of another child. What does a child interject when adults speak? Do you still understand some etiquette? I'm an orphan, no one taught me these things. Wang Chen looked calm and said, compared to this, I, as the captain of the red-headed pirates, want to interfere in the family affairs of our white-headed pirates, isn't it? Extending my hand too long. Oh. Shanks squinted his eyes and said, so what do you want? Not much, I just heard that you are the 4 emperors of the sea. I have a palm and I would like to ask you to learn. Wang Chen's voice spread throughout the sea, and with just one word, there was an uproar all around. Did I hear you right? He wants to challenge his red hair. Crazy. Hey, Marco, is this your subordinate? Hurry up and bring him back. Don't embarrass us with the Whitebeard pirates. Challenge red hair. What a madness. Not to mention an intern, even the second leader of a white-bearded pirate group like Marco, wouldn't dare to be so ignorant. The reason why the 4 emperors are the 4 emperors is because they stand at the pinnacle of this vast sea. Of course, the request made by Red Hair earlier made people feel a bit annoyed. But what is their identity and what is your identity? When the 4 emperors speak, they have their own weight. You are a small intern, not even a formal crew member, and you dare to speak wildly there. There was no need for Red Hair to mock Wang Chen for overestimating his abilities, and some cadres of the white-bearded pirates immediately expressed dissatisfaction. On the Redford, a group of members of the red-headed pirates who were originally watching the excitement were also a bit dumbfounded at the moment. What's the situation? Someone is provoking our boss. Those who can be seen as opponents by our boss should at least be at the level of Eagle Eyes. Why is he a little ghost now? Our captain was provoked by a little ghost. Is there so many ignorant people in this world? To be honest, these people from the red-headed pirates would all want to laugh now. The 4 emperors were provoked by an intern ghost, which was so fun. Captain Ben Beckman patted the railing and said, remember this, you can come out and make fun of the boss in the future. No one is serious. No one thinks it should be taken seriously. On Mobidick's side, looking at Wang Chen's serious expression, Shanks, who was originally a bit angry, suddenly became somewhat helpless. Never mind, since we can't reach an agreement, this matter will come to an end. Captain Whitebeard, please forgive me for saying goodbye. The word "ci" did not fall, and across from him, Wang Chen's aura suddenly changed. Expert contract, open. 5 Chi Chaoyuan, open. Return to the original source, open. Yulong palm, add some. Palm technique, Yulong ba fong, red-headed captain, please teach me. After practicing for 2.5 months, Wang Chen obtained the most precious thing, which was a contract with an expert and 3 skill points. Basic mastery, no need to add, this is a passive skill that naturally increases with his level. Light sword mastery is also a skill that the sword emperor profession possesses by default. The only 3 skill points left, Wang Chen added 1 point to return to origin and 1 point to 5 Qi Chaoyuan. These two, one increases its own attack power and the other increases its own acceleration. The former can increase his palm and swordsmanship power by 20% on the original basis. The latter increases his speed by 30% on the original basis. All of them are buff skills, without active attack ability, but they can give Wang Chen's punches and kicks immense power when activated, comparable to Rear Admiral. 3 skill points, 2 skill points added to buff skills, and the last point is naturally reserved for active attack skills. Sword Emperor is at levels 20.25, with 2 attack skills each. It's just that those 2 skills are too difficult. When playing games in his past life, Wang Chen never added any points to them. Naturally, it is impossible to waste precious skill points on it. It can only be the Yulong palm, and there can only be the Yulong palm. Faced with a 4th emperor, Wang Chen had no intention of hiding anything. Contract, buff, add points, take action, and complete it all in one go. In an instant, he used all the available cards and played all the available cards. 8 purple-blue gas dragons roared out of their palms, each with a bowl opening that was thick and thin, directly materialized and charged towards Shanks. Boom! The air is torn apart. The terrifying waves surged like mountains and seas, crashing into all directions. In an instant, Shanks widened his eyes. Marco widened his eyes. Joez widened his eyes. Mobidick, the people on board the Redford squadron stared wide-eyed. Even the white-bearded man, who was infusing liquid and drinking alcohol, widened his eyes at this moment. This is so. Damn it. Just an intern, how could this be possible? Bang. A solid collision sound sounded, and huge smoke and dust rose like pillars on the Mobidick. Faced with Wang Chen's palm, red-haired Shanks didn't dodge. Chapter 4. The intern who forces Shanks to draw a knife. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The red-headed pirates and the white-bearded pirates, when combined, never expected that Wang Chen would really dare to attack Shanks. I never expected that just an intern would have such a powerful presence when he made a move. Is this Nima an intern? Your intern is Kueihai. Yes, Wang Chen's palm has completely reached the level of 7 martial Cs. Moreover, what is even more terrifying is that with this palm, there is no escape. Including the people on the red-haired boat, everyone could see that just now, it wasn't because the red-haired person didn't want to hide and wanted to take this slap hard, but because he couldn't hide. The 8 directions dragon palm, 8 purple and blue chi dragons, completely blocked the red-haired Shanks from all 8 directions around his body. It can be said that even if Shanks sees and hears the dominance of color, he cannot escape. Because there's no blind spot at all. Seeing, hearing, and being domineering is predicting the opponent's attack route in order to avoid it. There is no escape space, how should we avoid it? Shanks took a solid palm, not because he wanted to take it, but because he had to take it. Shooting is a sure hit, and this type of attack is not something that ordinary 7 martial Cs can have. Boss. Captain Ben Beckman was the first to jump out and charge towards the Mobidick. Believing that Shanks will not have any problems is one thing, caring about Shanks is another thing. Although I believe that my boss couldn't be so cowardly and was slapped by an intern. Years old brother, Ben Beckman was still the first to rush out and protect Shanks. Boss. Jesus and Lazarus followed closely behind. With the same mentality, they all don't believe that Shanks will be slapped. But what needs to be cared for is still what needs to be cared for, which is called companionship. A group of people rushed onto the Mobidick. Marco's brow furrowed subconsciously. Normally, such behavior should be seen as provocation. However, looking at Wang Chen over there, Marco furrowed his eyebrows and immediately put them down. I have no choice but to fight for my own family. Speaking of which, I still feel a bit guilty on my end. With such a mentality, Marco decided not to mind. Unexpectedly, as soon as Ben Beckman and others came up, they started shouting and screaming. Hey, Marco, what do you mean by, find a skilled newbie to deceive our captain? Ben Beckman questioned loudly, staring at Marco with a fierce expression on his face. Marco looked bewildered and then turned black. Pay attention to what you say. Take a good look, whose territory is standing under your feet. Otherwise. Are you going to tell me that this kid is really an intern on your ship? Pointing at Wang Chen standing there, Ben Beckman had a greasy expression on his face. At the same time, his companions also began to shout, their words filled with doubts. Do people with white beards treat us like fools? How could such a monster be an intern? Among them, there are also those with a mix of yin and yang. Take the 7 Martial C-level combat power of the king as interns, your white-bearded pirates are really powerful. To be honest, yin-yang people have rotten buttocks. If someone dared to make such a big fuss about their companions on the Mobidick, Marco and the captains of other teams would have already taken action at this moment. However, at this moment, Marco and Diamond Joez looked at each other. Compared to venting anger towards the group of people with red hair, at this moment, they also want to figure out what's going on with all of this. Hey, you guys, don't embarrass me. The dust settled, and in the smoke and dust, the figure of Shanks slowly emerged. As everyone thought, Wang Chen's palm could not have caused him any trouble. Wang Chen's move was too decisive and ruthless, but who is Shanks? The 4 emperors of Tang dynasty, even if caught off guard, have enough means to deal with everything. Boss. Ben Beckman and others quickly walked over. Before asking if Shanks was okay, everyone was stunned. At this moment, Shanks had a somewhat disheveled figure. I saw him wielding a pestle and a knife in one hand, with the broken hand, the cuffs hanging down, and his hair messy and covered in wooden debris. Not to mention, his cuffs, hem, and leg clothing were torn open one by one. What really surprised Ben Beckman and others was not his awkward posture at the moment, but Shanks. He drew his sword. Famous sword Griffin, draw your sword and unsheath it. The dark black armed color was domineering, covering half of his body. He held a knife and stood in front of himself. It can be seen that just now, he blocked Wang Chen's palm with this posture. Judging from his solemn expression and serious demeanor, those who didn't know thought he had just punched Whitebeard hard. Seeing this scene, the whole room was in an uproar. I drew the knife. That's Shanks. I drew the knife. Can he pull out his knife to withstand that intern's palm? Well, what kind of monster is this? If previously only people from the red-headed pirates were looking at Marco with an incorrect gaze, then now even the white-headed pirates are looking at Marco with an incorrect gaze. Marco, I remember this kid was brought back from the sea 2 months ago, right? What's the situation? You brought back a 7 Martial C. A team captain looked at Marco and asked with a strange expression. To be honest, everyone is not a fool either. Is it an intern? It can be felt by everyone just from that palm. Not to mention, looking at the red-haired posture at this moment, it is completely like facing a great enemy, and I dare not underestimate it at all. In this situation, who dares to treat Wang Chen as an intern? As Ben Beckman just said, is your intern Koehai? That's really impressive. On the side of the Whitebeard pirates, there is also a feeling that Marco is manipulating people. Marco's face was as black as ink. It's enough to say that the members of the red-headed pirates suspect him, even his own family suspects him. What is the situation? Hey, kid, come and explain what's going on. Marco couldn't figure it out either. But everyone looked at him, and he couldn't get angry. At the moment, he could only shift his gaze to Wang Chen. After all, he is the culprit. Before he could finish speaking, Wang Chen let out a loud beep and fell to the ground on the spot. Marco. I lost my strength. A ship doctor went over and examined Wang Chen, saying to Marco. Whitebeard sat high on the throne, quietly watching. Upon hearing these words, he burst out laughing and said, Interesting, this kid is so interesting. Marco, you brought this kid back, right? Great, Dad, here's a trick for you. Ah. Marco was shocked and immediately overjoyed, thank you, Dad. For team captains like Marco, who are actually the second in command of the Whitebeard pirates, it doesn't matter whether they have achieved success or not. But if Dad can be happy, he is very happy. I saw Beard turn his head and look at the red-haired Shanks. I have already made it very clear what I mean. Now, are you leaving on your own, kid, or am I personally taking action? Please leave. The atmosphere on the field was frozen at that time. Chapter 5. Whitebeard Falling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As a symbol of the old era, Whitebeard possesses an invincible aura. Even when facing the rising star with red hair, it is full of pressure. Seeing this scene, no one in the white-bearded pirates group found it strange, because Dad was just like that, with unparalleled courage. The members of the red-headed pirates had an unpleasant expression on their faces. This guy with a white beard. After all these years, uncle, you still have this kind of temper. Shanks sighed, with a hint of melancholy. He knew he couldn't persuade Whitebeard. Out of anger, he may compete with Whitebeard. Red Hair knows for itself that in reality, it doesn't help at all. Especially after slapping Wang Chen, suddenly, Shanks felt that everything was very boring. Wave your hand to your companion and take them away. Wait a minute. A sound sounded. Shanks let out a and turned around to raise an eyebrow. But I saw that the brave and daring little intern who dared to take action against me was reluctantly walking towards me with the help of the ship doctor. Kid, don't be too proud and forgetful. A group of people surrounded by Red Hair, with warnings in their eyes. For the sake of his white beard, they could ignore the mischievous behavior of the little ghost who had ambushed their captain. But this is not the capital for this kid to show off his prowess. Ben Beckman and others dared to swear that if this intern boy dared to behave rudely again and fight against the Whitebeard pirates, they would also make the other person look good. I saw Wang Chen slowly walking towards me, with a sincere expression on his face. There was something offensive just now, it was my fault. I'm here, kid. I apologize to everyone. The surroundings were quiet. Red-haired and others looked at Wang Chen standing there, suddenly with a well-behaved face and an extremely strange expression. What is this, you're still being good after getting a discount? You were very arrogant just now, shouting to our captain in front of us, and even saying a word of disagreement. Take action against him. How could this be so sensible again? Looking at Wang Chen, who was just within reach and gesturing to shake hands with him, Hong was stunned for a while. Suddenly, he laughed up and said, ha ha ha. You're really interesting, kid. You're called Wang Chen, right? Okay, I remember you. Let's go. The green mountains will not fall, and the green water will flow for a long time. Goodbye, everyone. The Redford slowly departed. The red-headed pirates have left. And on the side of the Whitebeard pirates, the shock continues. Monster. Is this the intern of our Whitebeard pirates team? To be honest, I think it's outrageous. I always feel embarrassed for giving the 4 words official crew member to me. Everyone can see that in order to block Wang Chen's just slap, the red-haired Shanks really took it seriously. Domineering and unsheathed griffin, with such a prepared posture, some people believe that red hair was facing Dad at the time. But in the end, it was only an intern who made the famous red-haired man feel like a formidable enemy. An intern from their white-bearded pirate group. This is outrageous. To be honest, even though I am a crew member of the Whitebeard Pirates, at this moment, everyone feels that this is somewhat surreal. Is the threshold for joining our Whitebeard Pirates group so high now? Intern recruitment, starting with 7 Marshalseas. I'm sorry everyone, I'm embarrassing the Whitebeard Pirates. Wang Chen said. Others were amazed. The combat crew members who were familiar with Wang Chen were happy. Good kid, with you, it's better to bury it deep than to reveal it. A group of people surrounded Wang Chen, mocking him while also being happy for him. The crew members with white beards are all sons of white beards, but they also have their own circles. For these crew members, Wang Chen is a member of their circle. So at this moment, they are so proud. Cough cough, Marco came over and coughed lightly twice. Immediately, the people around him were very discerning, and their smiles dispersed. Dad wants to see you. Marco looked at Wang Chen with a somewhat complicated expression in his eyes. On the ship with a white beard, he is considered the most familiar person with Wang Chen. After all, it was he who rescued Wang Chen from the sea in the beginning. At the same time, he also knew what kind of state Wang Chen was 2.5 months ago. Let me put it this way, calling him an ordinary person is a bit insulting to the 3 words, ordinary person. Because ordinary people in the world of pirates can at least swing a hammer and dance a knife. And 2.5 months ago, Wang Chen, not to mention wielding a hammer and wielding a knife, made him run a kilometer, panting heavily and making it quite difficult to put it bluntly, this is just a waste. Marco was thinking of giving this person a ride and then finding a place to put him down. It was Wang Chen himself who said he wanted to repay his kindness, so that he could stay on the ship and do some sweeping and cleaning work. 2.5 months, just 2.5 months, a useless weak chicken who was not even as good as an ordinary person was able to slap him with red hair in front of countless top powerhouses in the New World, and make him appear as if facing a formidable enemy. To be honest, not to mention others, Marco himself felt magical. Who would have thought that after only 2.5 months, I had grown to this extent? Is it difficult or not? At that time, I underestimated this guy. What kind of super genius is he? Marco suspects. Wang Chen had already approached with a smile and greeted him, Brother Marco. Grace and righteousness still need to be remembered, this is not a lie. Marco can indeed be considered his great benefactor. So even though Marco left him for 2.5 months without even asking him a question, Wang Chen is still very grateful and respects Marco. Marco nodded and remained silent, silently leading the way ahead. Quickly, Wang Chen was taken to the deck of Mobidick and saw a towering man with a white beard sitting there, like a mountain. Is the injury okay? Whitebeard still had fluid all over his body, looking at Wang Chen and asking from a high position. Thank you very much for the captain's concern. It's already over. Wang Chen answered. Beard called him over, probably to inquire about something. For example, his identity, his strength, the slap he just gave to his red hair, and whether there were any conspiracies or schemes using his strength as an intern on the Mobidick. But when Wang Chen called him captain instead of dad, Beard suddenly felt that these issues were not important. Immediately asked, why don't you call me dad? Are you not my white-bearded son? I'm just an intern. Wang Chen answered truthfully. Intern, not considered a formal crew member, so having a son or something on board is not valid. Wang Chen means this. Whitebeard also understood. At the moment, his eyes narrowed and he said, I boarded my white-bearded ship, and he is my white-bearded son, a member of this big family. You have joined my white-bearded pirate group now, but you don't recognize me as my father, so. Do you want to be a traitor? As soon as these words were spoken, the scene froze on the spot. Don't be fooled by Wang Chen's palm beating Shanks back, it's really impressive. In fact, there are many tricks involved, and discerning people can tell at a glance. Firstly, this can indeed be considered a surprise attack. Taking advantage of his red hair, he suddenly burst into full force and slapped him. Also, due to the unique skills, red hair cannot be avoided. Once again, the red-haired ship is on the Mobidick, and even if it floats, it is impossible to attack the people under the white beard in the white beard's lair. Simply put, the red-haired Shanks at that time were a sandbag. If you can't fight back, if you can't curse back. Playing a sandbag at the level of the fourth emperor does not mean that he has the strength to fight against the strong players at the level of the fourth emperor. Moreover, after that slap, Wang Chen's entire strength was truly drained and he fell into paralysis on the spot. It can only be said that the strength and terror of the four emperors are far beyond the imagination of Wang Chen at this time. So, if Whitebeard were to attack him at this moment, it would be a question whether Wang Chen could survive, let alone resist. Fortunately, Whitebeard did not take action, but instead stared at Wang Chen, using his invincible aura to suppress him. Squeak! Squeak! In an instant, Wang Chen could hear the terrifying sound emanating from his bones all over his body. Relying solely on his momentum, he collapsed on the spot, and even this may not be the serious state of Whitebeard. This symbol of the old era, the four emperors of the new world, is truly terrifying, and words cannot simply describe it. Wang Chen gritted his teeth to support him, almost falling into a breakdown. Just then, a voice suddenly sounded. Ding! It has been detected that cans have fallen around. May I ask if you want to pick them up? Wang Chen was momentarily stunned at that time. Immediately, he seemed to have realized something and shouted, lying down, in his heart. This is the jar that Whitebeard dropped from. Pick it up. Pick it up for me. A radius of 50 meters, except for him, there is only a Whitebeard. At this moment, a jar has fallen, not a Whitebeard, who else can it be? In an instant, Wang Chen's eyes widened. This wave, someone Wang took off on the spot. Chapter 6. Dominant and Powerful, Awakening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When colliding with the red-haired Shanks, Wang Qinyuan thought he could gain something. I don't know if it was his bad luck, or if Shanks had a bad complexion at the time. In the end, let alone the legendary jar, he didn't even get an ordinary and excellent jar. Red hair has no hope. Wang Chen was originally a bit disheartened. Who would have thought that if lost in the east corner, we would reap the benefits? Eating on my red hair and my white beard. Surprisingly, the jar fell off. Mom. Comfortable. Happiness came too suddenly. After a slight moment of confusion, Wang Chen no longer cared about his authority. With the terrifying aura of his white beard, he picked up the jar and didn't even look at its color. He directly ordered the system. Open the jar. Ding. Congratulations to the host, you have successfully opened the jar and obtained the skill card. Awakening of Dominance and Dominance. Wang Chen couldn't speak on the spot. Red hair and white beard, without a doubt, are all men standing at the pinnacle of this era. For red hair, Wang Chen originally speculated that if he wanted to drop the jar, at least it would have to be a rare purple layer. Even the golden legend is not impossible. The same goes for a white beard. Even the character level with a white beard should still be above that with red hair. Because compared to red hair, he is not only powerful, but also has a rich life experience. If a jar falls off the body of such a great hero, how can the open thing be mortal? Wang Chen is very mentally prepared. Unexpectedly, his situation is still small. The drop of a white beard is not only an ordinary thing, but also an outrageous Nima. At the beginning of the game, there was a domineering awakening, and this wave, I specifically asked you who else is there. The Golden Legend. It must be the Golden Legend. Those who can unlock the golden skill card of Overlord Color and Power Awakening, except for the jar of the Golden Legend, don't even think about it. I drew a legend and didn't expect that Wang would also have the day to leave Africa and enter Europe. This wave, I'm thrilled. Speaking of which, he is not afraid of being laughed at. In his past life, Chen played games. No matter which game he played, no matter which manufacturer's game he played, his luck level was always only at one level. Non-chieftain. 10 consecutive draws guarantee, single draw always blue sky and white clouds. It can be said that everything related to luck has nothing to do with him. Unexpectedly, today he managed to beat the odds. First, create a golden legendary jar, and then randomly draw a top-level golden skill card called Overlord Color and Mighty Awakening from this golden legendary jar. Adding the two together is equivalent to saying that he is extremely lucky. Just this luck, dog poop luck, is no longer enough to describe, it is simply that the European Emperor is alive, and the goddess of luck is favored. At present, without hesitation, he immediately used his skill card with a momentary thought. With a ding sound, the skill card was successfully used and he added a domineering skill to his personal panel. Personal panel. Name. Chen, Power. 100, Physical Strength. 75, Speed. 91, Current Level. 25, Skills. Basic Mastery LV25, Return to Origin LV1, Highest, 5 Chi Chaoyuan LV1, Lightsaber Mastery, Default, Dragon Palm LV1, Overlord Color Overlord LV1. In the personal panel, there are two more skills than before. Yulong Palm and Overlord Color and Dominance. The study of Yulong Palm is due to the contract of the expert. When the effectiveness of the contract with the expert disappears, the Dragon Palm will also disappear, and at the same time, skill points will be returned. Chen has a clear idea in his heart. It goes without saying that it is domineering. When the skill card becomes a skill, a feeling that seems innate is generated in his heart. At that moment, as long as I followed this feeling, I could naturally release my domineering aura, like using my arms and fingers, effortlessly. The pressure from Whitebeard is still ongoing. But at this moment, Chen no longer cared. Compared to the pressure given by Whitebeard, he now wants to see how powerful his domineering skills are. At the moment, his mind twitched and an inexplicable momentum surged over him. Dominant and domineering, go. When Beard summoned Chen, Marco and his group were standing in the distance, looking towards this side from a distance. Hey Marco, is this the kid you rescued? He got on our white-bearded boat and didn't even call Daddy. It's really impolite. With the eyes and ears of Marco and others, it is natural to hear the conversation between two people in the distance. When Chen heard him calling his father, Captain, instead of Dad, a group of officials also frowned and said to Marco one after another. Marco's brow also furrowed. Just, dissatisfaction comes from dissatisfaction. But when he saw Chen's whole body trembling under his father's terrifying aura, like the raging waves of the vast sea, he shook his head and felt a bit unbearable in his heart. After all, just being a child and only staying on our ship for 2 months, what kind of sense of belonging can there be? With these words, he approached to plead for mercy in front of Chen's father, but before he could leave, he was grabbed by a group of old brothers. Calm down, it's not bad for young people to suffer some losses. Joez and others laughed. Speaking of which, this kid looks a bit like Ace back then. Humanistic, it's also the same kind of rebellion and strength. When everyone remembered this statement, it was truly so. Indeed, it's very similar to Ace. They are all fearless little ghosts, even Dad dares to confront them. Ace even assassinated his father back then. Of course, he was beaten badly enough. Haha, I remember what you said. I even treated his injury back then. A few people burst out laughing. But someone said again, however, this kid's potential is probably not as good as Ace's. Everyone turned around and found that the person speaking was Captain Bista of the 5th Division. Immediately, Marco frowned and said, Bista, do you think Wang Chen is not as good as Ace? Of course. It's obvious, isn't it, said Biasta, shrugging his shoulders. His statement sparked discussions among the captains of the other major teams with great interest. Bista's point makes sense. You see, Ace is a fruit-burning ability, and top-notch natural demon fruits like this are hard to come by. Ace's swordsmanship is also very good. With just one hand of swordsmanship, this kid may be out of reach. Being domineering, the most important thing is being domineering. In the new world, people who don't know how to be domineering can't go far. Although that kid can launch attacks that make red hair glare, at that time, I didn't feel the aura of domineering. It seems that this kid hasn't even touched the edge of domineering. Based on this alone, he's far inferior. Yes, not being domineering is a big problem. In this regard, Ace is indeed stronger than him. The more a group of people speak, the more excited they become. Compared to the intern Wang Chen, it is obvious that being the captain of the second team, Ace, has a higher popularity in the team. It doesn't matter whether they are strong or not, mainly because Ace is better than them, so they subconsciously say good things about Ace there, step by step, and stomp on Wang Chen. Stepping on Wang Chen was quite enjoyable, and at that moment, a completely different aura from that of a white beard suddenly appeared. At that time, everyone who was still debating who was stronger between Wang Chen and Ace, fought a cold war together. Looking in the direction of momentum, I saw something unknown. In front of Whitebeard, Wang Chen, who was pressed down and couldn't lift his head, suddenly stood up straight, with his waist as straight as a steel gun. Feeling the aura emanating from Wang Chen again, everyone present, including Bista, was stunned. So. Is that domineering and domineering? Chapter 7. Owning a Name. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So. Is that domineering and domineering? When Bista shouted out this sentence in a trembling voice, there was a dead silence on the stage. The first second, they were still chatting and laughing happily. The second, they were like ducks whose throats were being choked, with funny expressions and a strong look of disbelief in their eyes. Just as he was saying that Wang Chen couldn't be domineering and was a fatal weakness, Wang Chen awakened to his dominance, and he was also the strongest domineering color in the domineering field. Don't talk about others, Bista feels like he's dreaming now. This is too magical, isn't it? Subconsciously, Bista wanted to pat his cheek to see if he had hallucinations. Instead of waiting for him to pat his cheek, just listen to the sounds of bang and bang over there, and someone starts to fall one after another. The domineering color is domineering. I see the domineering color again. When red hair came earlier, it was once, now, it's again. Moreover, what's even more infuriating is that with the arrival of red hair, at least there are traces to follow. What's wrong with your sudden and domineering appearance? Anyway, give us some psychological preparation. The person who fainted once before when red hair arrived, this time, fainted again. Unlike before, this time they were full of shame and anger, almost wanting to die. I have fainted twice in a day, and there is no such shame as this. What's even more exaggerated is that this time, Wang Chen seems to have a wider range and more people falling down than the time when red hair came. His domineering aura was like a huge hood, enveloping the entire Mobidick. People around him cannot escape, those who hide in the cabin and have no idea what happened are also unable to escape. The entire Mobidick, except for the pirate Whitebeard, as well as cadres such as Marco, Joez, and Bista, countless people fainted at this moment, their eyes rolling white. The huge group of white-bearded pirates seemed to be annihilated by the group. A deathly silence envelopes this world. A group of people stared blankly at the slender figure of the young man standing in front of Whitebeard. For a moment, they didn't know what to say. Overlord color. Domineering. Don't mention anyone else, Whitebeard is a bit silent at this moment. He looked at Wang Chen, his eyes sharp like a blade, filled with doubts. Big eyes, big doubts. With a rich life experience with a white beard, I still don't understand how all of this happened at this moment. Being domineering and domineering. I guess I can't be wrong. Just, is there such a way of awakening with a domineering and domineering aura? Just now, was I threatening him or trying to please him? This kid is truly stunning and stunning. After a long silence. Finally, Marco woke up first. As he flashed, he approached Wang Chen and his white-bearded companions, looking at him with a constipated expression on his face. You awakened your domineering aura. Finger King Chen, after a while, Marco finally said this. At this moment, the domineering aura around Wang Chen's body had dissipated. He had a somewhat bewildered expression, as if he was not clear about what had happened. After Marco asked again, he looked uncertain and said, maybe. Right. Wang Chenru answered. Yes, no, maybe it's not. Adding a "ba" at the end, such a guilty answer, almost made Marco's nose crooked. So, you don't know why you awaken your dominance and dominance. What is domineering? Faced with Marco's question, Wang Chen countered. This time, Marco was in a hurry and almost vomited blood on the spot. Without even knowing what domineering aura is, Marco awakened to the top level of domineering aura. If it weren't for knowing Wang Chen's roots at this moment, Marco would have thought he was in Versailles himself. You don't know. Marco didn't say anything more. Whitebeard had already spoken and stopped him. I saw this huge and towering man, one hand hanging on his knee and the other leaning on his chin, as if looking at some rare treasure. He looked down at Wang Chen from a high position and laughed heartily. Interesting kid, really interesting kid. I haven't met someone like you in a long time. Alright, if you don't want to call me Dad, you can skip it, but you must promise me that you can't betray the Whitebeard pirates or do anything wrong to the Whitebeard pirates. The Whitebeard pirates have already produced an unfilial son, and I don't want a second one to appear. Do you understand? The Whitebeard had sharp eyes and a threatening tone in his words. Unlike before when he only taught Wang Chen a lesson, this time he is serious. A Tiki, who had already caused the death of one son and the loss of two sons, betrayed him like this. His heart was as broad as a white beard, and he could not tolerate it. So, at this moment, if Wang Chen dares to speak a word "no" again, he will wield the thunderous fist of Whitebeard and fall on his head. What is a joke, Wang Chen can tell. At present, Wang Chen didn't hesitate and explained with a serious expression, Captain, you misunderstood. It's not that I don't want to call you Dad, but that I don't think I have the qualifications right now. The great pirate Edward Newgate, he is a towering hero, and his son should also be an unparalleled hero. As an intern, I still have a long way to go, and I dare not or cannot be honored with such honor, because I feel that this is tarnishing your elderly face. As for betraying the Whitebeard pirates, please rest assured that I, Wang Chen, hereby swear that I treat the Whitebeard pirates as my own family. 2 months ago, it was Brother Marco who rescued me from the sea, and it was also Brother Marco who gave me the opportunity to be alone and qualify me to work and study on the ship. Grace and righteousness are more important than this. I, Wang Chen, will remember them in my heart and never forget them forever. How could I possibly do something worse than a pig or a dog, betraying the Whitebeard pirates? Although I am young, I also know the words love and righteousness, heavy as a mountain. Here, I, Wang Chen, can swear to heaven that in this lifetime, if the Whitebeard pirates do not betray me, I will not betray the Whitebeard pirates. Everyone prospers, everyone loses. If this heart is violated, heaven and earth will perish, and people and gods will be angry together. He looked solemn and swore there. At present, not only did he have a white beard, but even the faces of those who had previously been unhappy with him for various reasons suddenly softened. This kid, proud, but in terms of being a person, he seems to have no problem. Knowing the importance of kindness and love, this is a member of my Whitebeard pirate squad, that's right. Alright, there's no need to make such a heavy oath, I believe you. Standing up straight, Whitebeard waved his big hand with astonishing momentum, and said with a bold face, in the future, this Whitebeard pirate squad will be your home. As long as you still consider us your family, I promise that you will always have a seat in the Whitebeard pirate squad. Thank you very much, Captain. Chen respectfully, next big worship. At present, Marco and others are also boiling with enthusiasm, cheering loudly there. Friendship between men is sometimes so simple. The cadres who originally had some opinions about Chen were also thinking in their hearts that the reason why Chen refused his father's invitation just now must be because he is still young and full of energy. When he matures a bit more, he will definitely understand his father's good intentions, and like everyone else, he will be impressed by his father's demeanor and truly integrate into the big family of the Whitebeard pirates, becoming a member of the big family. Kolalalala. I'm really happy today. Chen, listen carefully. One day, I will make you willingly shout out this dad. Now, set up the wine and have a banquet. Today, don't go home until you're drunk. Oh. Everyone cheered. The atmosphere is fanatical. Chen laughed along in the crowd. It is obvious that the plan has been successful. The expected goal was achieved, and at this moment, he successfully gained his name within the Whitebeard pirates. And obviously, this is just the beginning. The era of the great pirate, exciting, always on the next page. Chapter 8. Pot Dafengshou, salad of assorted fresh vegetables. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hey, Chen, how on earth did you awaken your domineering aura? You're too strong. Yeah, Bista was saying before that you don't know how to be domineering and don't have the ability to be strong, but as soon as you turned around, you immediately awakened your domineering color. To be honest, if you didn't know that domineering color is not so easy to master, I really thought you were stuck, trying to compare with Bista. Hey. Joez, if you can't speak, just shut up. What? Didn't you say before that AC is stronger than Wang Qinxiang, not domineering? Isn't he really a strong person? Dare to say, you dare not admit it. At the banquet of the Whitebeard pirates, Chen was warmly welcomed. What cadres, team leaders, are all talking around him. Even some of the fighters on the periphery were all discussing him. It can be said that in just one day, Chen went from an unknown nobody to a hot and popular star on the Mobidick. Everyone is discussing him, and everyone is also discussing him. Although it may not be called flattery, in fact, at the table, everyone is circling around him. In the past, this was something he, as an intern, couldn't even imagine. The white-bearded pirates have a great atmosphere, but the leader is still the leader and the younger brother is still the younger brother. Interns should have the appearance of interns, behave properly, and be dedicated to serving drinks and tea to the big shots. How could they sit together with the big shots, chatting and laughing? It can only be said that Chen's plan was really successful. First, with the help of the red-haired Shanks, he made a remarkable breakthrough and established his hidden image as a young hero in the hearts of the Whitebeard pirates. With the help of Whitebeard's hand and his terrifying, substance-like pressure, he successfully awakened an unparalleled talent that was unparalleled among millions. His domineering demeanor completely changed the public's perception of him, establishing his absolute position in the Whitebeard pirates. Now, he is still an intern. But anyone with a clearer mind would not consider him an intern. The cadres surrounded him and spoke, while the team leaders sat next to him, hugging his shoulders and clinking glasses with him. This is still because the other pirate captains under Whitebeard did not arrive. This banquet was just a drinking frenzy among the sailors on Mobidick's own ship. Otherwise, the current scene would be even more lively and grand. There will also be more people talking enthusiastically around Wang Chen. He seemed to be the protagonist of this banquet, the center of the storm of this carnival. Before that, how dare Wang Chen think? Marco, Joez, Bista, Bramank, Lassio. They are all absolute cadres and main forces of the Whitebeard pirates, all known as absolute great pirates in this vast sea, and now they are calling themselves brothers. At this moment, Wang Chen was overjoyed. It's not because of vanity, but because the atmosphere was too good and the table was too lively. Marco and others around him started to fall out. Ding! It has been detected that cans have fallen around. May I ask if you want to pick them up? Ding! It has been detected that cans have fallen around. May I ask if you want to pick them up? Ding! Detected cans falling around, may I pick them up? The system's prompt sound is simply flashing on the screen. Heaven shows pity, and Wang Chen has never seen such an exaggerated number of jars refreshed since his travels. This is simply a jar rain. Because the range for picking up the jar could only be within 1 meter of Wang Chen's own body, Wang Chen did not hesitate and walked towards the cadres of the Whitebeard pirate squad, holding his wine glass, clinking glasses with them one by one. Brother Marco, go ahead. Brother Chiaozi, let's have a drink too. Big brother Bista, I've been admiring you for a long time. What did you say before? It's okay, it's okay. How could I care? Ace and I are also good friends. Come on, we have a deep emotional connection. Let's take a sip. Our brotherhood is all in this wine. Brother Bramank. Wearing a handsome face of 16 or 17 years old, Wang Chen had a sweet mouth. Besides chatting, some people also asked him how he activated his domineering aura, and Wang Chen answered truthfully about this. The opening of the domineering color had no trace to follow, and furthermore, he was awakened to his domineering color in front of everyone, oppressed by the aura of his white beard. Instead of asking him how to awaken his domineering aura, it's better to go to his father's place and try his luck. Anyway, that's how Wang Chen answered. If everything goes to by beard, everything will be fine. Above the table, Wang Chen was called Big Brother and that was called Uncle. In no time, he had friends and family all over the world, and gained the favor of the whole group. At the same time, he crazily silently recited the word, pick up, in his heart, so the pocket is full. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up a rare level jar. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up an excellent level jar. Ding! Congratulations to the host for picking up a rare level jar. Ding! Congratulations to the host. A vast array of jars, starting from the finest level, and rarity all fall into his pocket like free money. What kind of white ordinary level, he no longer looks up to. Occasionally unlucky, I bumped into one and was thrown aside by him, ignoring it. That's right, a wave of obesity, he is so arrogant. Drinking wine and dispersing people. Late at night, people are still. In the largest large room on the ship, Bai Huzi struggled with his tired body and was questioning Marco. Are you sure that 2 months ago, he was an ordinary person with no strength to bind himself? Whitebeard has asked similar questions several times. Every time, Marco also nodded affirmatively. This time, of course, it is no exception. Yes, I'm sure. This is really. Whitebeard covered his head, unsure of what to say. In just 2 months, from an ordinary person to the 7 martial Cs, it was okay to have relied on the ability of the devil fruit, but Wang Chen clearly did not show any signs of taking the devil fruit, which is quite unbelievable. And that domineering color. Thinking of this, Bai Huzi's head hurt even more. As soon as he awakened his domineering spirit, he knocked out the whole ship. This kid's future potential is probably not low. Marco, you really brought back a monster for our pirate group. Dad, isn't that good? Marco didn't understand. Of course it's good. However, there are also some issues. Whitebeard spoke like this, but he didn't dwell on this issue anymore. Forget it, I'll consider the next thing. Even if there's any past on this kid, I'll take care of it. Compared to this kid doesn't have a strong sense of belonging to us now, and that's something you need to worry about. Dad, I was just about to tell you about this when at the dinner table, that kid Wang Chen made a request to me. Requirements. What requirements? He said he wants to learn from me about dominance. Chapter 9. Can opening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Whitebeard and Marco were talking, Wang Chen sat on the deck of the big ship, facing the moonlight, counting the harvest. The 16 captains of the Whitebeard pirates, except for the deceased 4th Squadron Captain Satch and the 2nd Squadron Captain Ace who went to pursue Blackbeard Tick, all 14 captains will be present tonight. The captain of the team has dropped at least 14 purple rare jars of rare level or above. Each person drops one. In addition to these renowned team captains, the Whitebeard pirates also have many cadres at the level of great pirates. These cadres, at a young age, can give 2 blue excellent level jars to one person, and at a young age, even purple rare level jars may be produced. One person and 2, this is at least 6.70 blue jars. Because it's my first time harvesting these cadres wool, the quality will definitely not be too bad. In addition to these cadres, other crew members and combatants have also provided a considerable number of cans. Setting aside the white cans that are highly likely to be used for miscellaneous items such as Durex and Jasper Bond, the blue excellent cans that the combatants can provide me with are at least 40 or more. That means there are at least 20 rare purple jars and over 100 excellent blue jars here. The purple can has 20 consecutive draws, and the blue can has 100 consecutive draws. This is not a good thing. Today, Mr. Wang poured his head with cement on the spot, and he did the fecal pit butterfly swim. He promised to do it. He was muttering to himself there. My hands are itching uncontrollably. It has to be said that opening blind boxes and drawing pools are really addictive things. The unknown is the most charming. You don't know what will come out of this small jar, and you have fantasies about everything inside. And if something comes out of the jar that doesn't meet your expectations or doesn't meet your psychological expectations, you won't be disappointed, but instead will look forward to the next opening of the blind box. It has to be said that game manufacturers are old psychologists who have truly understood the psychology of consumers. Wang Chen used to be a victim of game unscrupulous merchants, but even now, he still enjoys it and holds expectations in his heart. I am the Emperor of Europe, I am the Emperor of Europe. The Golden Legend, the Golden Legend. Without hesitation, Wang Chen silently recited in his heart, waving a set of blue jars and immediately commanding the system, 10 consecutive draws. Open it for me. Ding. Congratulations to the host, you have successfully opened the jar and earned 100,000 Baileys of money. Ding. Congratulations to the host. Successfully opened the jar and obtained the item, dog head gold. Ding. Congratulations to the host. Successfully opened the jar and obtained a bag of baby diapers. Ding. Congratulations. Watching the system messages jumping wildly, Wang Chen's face turned a bit black. What's so special? What are all these things? Money and dog head gold are also considered. What does baby diaper mean? Where do you really see that I can use this kind of thing? Wang Chen is not unaware of the randomness of the system. Although the jar has a level, what can be opened is truly random. High-level jars are at most guaranteed in quality, but when it comes to blue or purple jars, they can definitely produce good things in skill categories or skill points. To be honest, Wang Chen himself has no confidence. Ultimately, it's still the word luck. However, Chen thinks that even if it's just luck, you shouldn't have given me these things from the blue jar 10 times in a row, right? What about this Nima, deceiving people? Chen's face was extremely unattractive. It seems like I'm going to go crazy the next moment. Fortunately, it has a guaranteed minimum of 10 consecutive draws. When Chen was about to despair, a line of big characters jumped out. Ding! Congratulations to the host, you have successfully opened the jar and obtained a famous sword called Snow Walk. Snow walking. Chen was slightly taken aback and immediately remembered. Isn't this the good and fast sword that Sauron obtained with the third-generation Ghost Che in Rog Town? The Battle of Justice Island was also destroyed by a naval colonel with the ability to rust fruits. Calculating the time, the Justice Island should have been completed by now. That is to say, the famous sword of Liangkuai Daoxue should have been destroyed. What is the snow walking on my own at this moment? Reincarnation, rebirth through a shell. Thinking of this, Chen couldn't help but laugh. A knife is a thing that naturally cannot be reincarnated. So, things like Mingdao are likely to be a series. For example, Shuezhua is likely the name of a swordsmith or, to put it simply, the name of a certain swordsmith workshop. Therefore, all knives that come out of that place are called Shuezhua. What kind of 50 good and fast knives? It's very likely that there are more than 50 good and fast knives in this world. Snow Walk is just a series, and having an additional famous sword, Snow Walk, in my hand is not an incomprehensible thing. It's okay, finally there's no cost and no return. Getting a good and fast knife, Chen felt a little relieved in his heart. After thinking for a moment, he gritted his teeth and didn't say much. He took out 10 purple jars and opened them together. Chen has conducted tests and found that although everything is possible with the jar, the scope of this possibility is limited to his past life, DNF, and the Pirate King standard plane. That is to say, apart from what he had in his past life, what he had in DNF games, and what he had in the One Piece base, there would be no other messy things in the jar. Among them, character experience, skill points, skill cards, demon fruits, and game equipment in DNF are undoubtedly the most precious things. Character experience can elevate their character level, thereby enhancing their own attributes and learning higher level skills from the Sword Emperor profession. And skill points are a necessary condition for learning skills. Skill cards, needless to say, the previous Overlord Power Awakening is a good example. The same goes for Devil Fruit and game equipment. The former can greatly enhance one's strength in a very short period of time, while the latter. It can only be said that if a level 100 epic weapon, the lightsaber, Star C. Badner, is produced and equipped, Chen can penetrate this pirate world. Ding ding dong dong. For a while, the purple jar opened 10 times and the harvest was good. Chen has gained a lot of character experience, successfully leveling up to level 30, and has issued 2 expert contracts, with a 1-day usage period, 10 consecutive draws as a guarantee. He has also been given a Seeing and Hearing the Power Awakening skill card. Overall, it's a consolation. It is impossible to replicate the legendary actions of the European Emperor all the time. So, Chen opened the jar and kept it open until morning. Then he heard someone call him over, saying it was Captain Marco, who wanted to teach him to be domineering. Chapter 10. Wild Talk. Joez is angry. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Good morning, Brother Marco. Having stayed up all night, Chen's spirit shone brightly. 100 or so jars finally didn't disappoint him. Although he did not receive anything at the same level as the skill card Overlord Color Overlord Awakening until the end, he received Seeing and Hearing Color Overlord Awakening, Armed Color Overlord Awakening, a large amount of character experience, 2 skill points, 3 expert contracts, several good and fast swords, 1 evil demon fruit, and countless miscellaneous items. I have gained quite a lot. Awakening of seeing and hearing colorful dominance, awakening of armed colorful dominance, combined with the previous awakening of dominant dominance, this time, he has all three colors of domineering power, only remaining to diligently cultivate and improve his skill level. And a large amount of character experience also elevated his level to level 35 in one go. It can be considered that one can completely avoid borrowing things like the expert contract and instead learn the skill of Dragon Palm. The skill points previously consumed do not need to be refunded. 2 skill points, needless to say, directly added to buff-type skills, 5 Qi Chaoyuan. Level 1, Dragon Palm, is sufficient, and if you increase the level, you will need to upgrade. Moreover, buff skills can enhance his overall quality, giving him immense power with every simple punch and kick. So, compared to other skills added to the Sword Emperor skill tree, the buff type 5 Qi Chaoyuan is obviously the most profitable. As for the demonic fruit that came out of bad luck, Chen has no intention of eating it himself. Because this is an animal fruit or the most common dog fruit, there is no mention of mythical animal species or ancient species at the back. Only 4 common words are dog fruit. Although Chen also longed for fruit ability, if it were this kind of garbage fruit that could only turn into a dog, he would rather not eat it. So the biggest use of this dog fruit is probably to exchange it for money. As for other miscellaneous items, there are too many, so I won't list them one by one. It can only be said that if sold, these miscellaneous items can also be exchanged for a large amount of money. Due to raising his own level to 35, Chen's current personal panel is: Name: Chen, Power 160, Stamina 85, Speed 101, Current Level 35, Skills. Basic Mastery LV 35, Return to Origin LV 1, Highest, 5 Qi Chaoyuan LV 3, Lightsaber Mastery, Default, Dragon Palm LV1, Overlord Color Overlord LV1, level up by 1 level, with each body data panel increasing by 1 point. For every level up, there are 5 free attribute points to add, and Wang Qinquan has added them to his strength. As for the dominance of armed and visible colors, Chen has not yet used skill cards, so they are not reflected in the data panel. If he had only achieved the pseudo 7 martial C combat power through means before, then at this moment, he is the real 7 martial C, and not the 7 martial C of the shame level like Moonlight Moria and Crocodile. The harvest was so huge, no wonder Chen stayed up all night and his spirit was still so strong. At this moment, he truly took an important step towards becoming a strong person. He is a terrifying presence who can stir the wind and rain on this vast sea. Morning. Marco hadn't said anything yet, but Joez and others heard the sound and had already walked over. Oh, Chen, I heard you want to be domineering with Mars Science. After yesterday's banquet, Xiaozi and others have become familiar with Chen. Calling him Chen Kid at this moment did not mean to belittle him, it was purely a joke among acquaintances. Chen nodded with a smile and said, yes, Marco said that not being domineering in the new world would be a disadvantage. He wants to teach me when he has time, so I came to learn from him. Learning to be domineering. Learning to be domineering is not easy. But Marco is right, he doesn't know how to be domineering. You can't survive in this new world. It's hard to imagine that someone who can fight against red hair doesn't even know how to be domineering and still needs to learn, said Joez and his team, exclaiming in amazement. This group of people seems to be coming to cause trouble. Marco originally had a serious expression. Upon receiving orders from his father, he wanted to teach Chen well and shape a strict teacher image in front of him. Now these bastards are making jokes here, obviously trying to make him lose his credit. Immediately, Marco impatiently waved at Joez and others like a fly, saying, you guys, get out of here if you have nothing to do. Xiaozi and others were already so idle that they couldn't bear to watch. It was only when they stood together that they came to see the excitement. Upon hearing these words, he immediately became unhappy and said, hey. Marco, what do you mean? Do you want to fight? I'll tell you, not only do you know how to be domineering, but we can also. If Wang Chen wants to learn domineering, we can also teach him. Sleeping trough. Marco's face was ugly, he was about to fly and hit someone. But at this moment, there are many people who are so idle that they feel pain. He is Marco alone, can he play a group of team captains? Obviously not. So, his face skipped and he felt unhappy, but he didn't say anything more. Seeing this, Xiaozi and others laughed even more happily and said directly, "That's settled. We all come to be the master of Wang Chen's domineering cultivation." Xiaozi, with a tall figure, looked down at Wang Chen from a high position and joked, "Wang Chen, are you ready? It's hard to cultivate with domineering aura. Although you have domineering aura and unparalleled qualifications, the other two types of domineering aura are different from those of domineering aura. If you want to learn from us, are you prepared for long-term suffering?" As soon as Joez spoke, the others laughed and agreed. "That's right, are you ready? We won't show mercy to you. Hee, how did my dad teach me back then, and now I'm going to teach you the same way. Wang Chen, are you ready to welcome my beloved Iron Fist?" A group of people are in high spirits. I almost wrote the 4 words, "Good teacher," directly on my face. Wang Chen tilted his head and thought for a moment, maybe not for a long time. No need for long-term. What does that mean? I mean, the time it takes for me to master the power of seeing, hearing, and arming the power of color may be shorter than you imagine. At this point, he paused, as if feeling a bit too modest in his speech, and added, "Maybe, much shorter, much shorter." The scene that was supposed to be hilarious was completely silent. Marco's face is not good. Looking, Joez's face is not good. Looking, Bista, Bremank's face is not good. Looking. Kid, you're a bit too crazy. Joez frowned and said in a deep voice, "Dare to speak wildly in front of us? Have you become fully aware of being trained to death?" He was angry. It's not scary to brag, but it's not appropriate to brag blindly there. Is this looking down on them? Domineering cultivation is not that simple. Looking at Xiaozi, who was somewhat angry, Wang Chen smiled and said, "I don't believe it, right? So, why don't we make a bet?